All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Hollywood Happy Hour, Episode 1. I am Stephen Anthony Bailey. I am your host. My co-host is Zedrick Restauro, a couple of working actors who decided to put a podcast together. Go figure. Zedrick Restauro is my co-host, but today I will be interviewing him as Episode 1. Episode 2, he will be interviewing me. We wanted to do that so that we could kick it off, let you guys get to know us a little bit better, get to know your hosts, and then from there on out, what we plan to do is to invite people from the entertainment industry, and Zedrick and I will talk to those people. Now, it could be anybody. It could be a dancer, a singer, a director of photography, a director, a screenwriter, actors, of course, we're going to bring in because we know tons of actors. And we want to talk about their experiences, how they became who they are, or what they're going through, so that we can educate people who are interested in maybe becoming a working actor or a working dancer, director of photography, whatever it may be, so that you can see what it's like today in modern-day Hollywood or Broadway or wherever they are working. And we talk about their personal life. It's not too undifferent from, it's not so different from the podcasts that you know and love, or Inside the Actors Studio, or whatever it may be. That's what this was inspired by. I've seen every episode of Inside the Actors Studio. I'm obsessed with podcasts, so I thought, why not make one? So for today's episode, it was our first time making a podcast, so there is a bit of... there's some sound trouble, there's some clicks, there's some pops, there's some hums, there's some chairs squeaking, there's bottles of beer clanking, there's a million other things. So forgive us as we're getting started and figuring this all out. But this is Episode 1. Stay with us. Zedrick Restauro being interviewed by Stephen Anthony Bailey. Here we go. Into the Hollywood Happy Hour. Grab a drink and get comfy. Okay, welcome to the Hollywood Happy Hour. I am Stephen Anthony Bailey, and I'm sitting here with actor, writer, producer Zedrick Restauro.
Hello.
That is Zedrick himself. Now, I'm going to jump into this like we're midway through in a conversation because that's where the most interesting things happen. So, I want you to talk to me about 2015, where you are right now in your career. Like, what kind of actor do you consider yourself? And where on the food chain are you sitting?
Sure. Let's see. Well, as of 2015, that's a really good question. I guess I'd consider myself, I'm primarily pursuing TV and film acting, and the majority of the roles that I've landed so far are on TV. Some commercials, few movies and stuff like that. So, for me, I guess, I'm a TV actor. I guess I can say that, having landed a few TV roles, hoping to get more guest star parts. I don't get very many film auditions. I'm definitely hoping to get some more of that. And I also audition a lot for commercials. So
now with film, you said that you don't get a lot of film auditions. You get mostly TV. Where do you think? Why is that? Why is that the way that it is for you?
Well, I have several theories. I have no idea if they're true. I think it's my look. I think my look and my type fits TV more, or there are more roles for me there.
Based upon your look, you're saying?
Yeah, especially with and also with commercials. I think that's why I get mostly those auditions. It's because of I just have a look that's more marketable in TV and commercials.
So for those who don't know who you are, what you look like, Zedrick is, how tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
Not that height has too much to do with acting, but he's 5'8". He is a Filipino actor, which there aren't many of them, right?
There's not a ton of Filipino actors.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing overall, do you think? Or does it not matter?
I mean, I guess that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, because one would assume, since there's not very many Filipino actors, then a lot of roles would open up for me. But there are also not a lot of Filipino roles. So, I feel like the playing field is pretty much level there.
Well, let me ask you this: with do you think that America's relationship with the Filipino community, is that something that's growing? And if it is growing, is that something that's going to pay off because you're going to pay off for you individually because you're going to see more Filipino parts entering the mainstream?
Right. I like to think so, and I'm very hopeful that that is what eventually happens, because there is a huge Filipino population in the United States. Out of the Asian immigrants that come here, Filipinos are second to the Chinese. So there's a lot of us, but it's still not being reflected in Hollywood and in movies and TV and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm hoping someday that happens, but as of right now, no, not happening yet.
Do you think of it as a goal of yours to be a trailblazer in that? I mean, who are the other working Filipino actors? Do you know their names? Or
I mean, the first one that comes to mind immediately is Lou Diamond Phillips, and not very many people know that he's Filipino. But yeah, he's half Filipino.
Does he celebrate that?
He's made a really good career of himself. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, there are some like Filipino themed events where we celebrate the culture, music, arts, and stuff like that, and he attends those events. So yeah, he does. He's very supportive of the community.
Cool. Yeah. So going back to that question, is that something that you're hoping that your work can do, is open up for other Filipino actors out there? Because I'm sure there are out there that are struggling to get in the business. Are you hoping that your work can kind of open doors for them as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I've met a few other Filipino actors that are also pursuing it, and yeah, there's not a ton of us. So there are a lot of Filipino actors out there that really don't really have anyone to look up to yet, and they don't have I guess a benchmark to like try to achieve or try to pursue their aside from Lou Diamond Phillips, I can't really think of anyone else that has really made a healthy career out of all of this.
And being a Filipino man who has a Filipino actor rather who has looked at these people and they still aren't household names that spring to your mind shows that there is a lot of work to do in that. Now, let me ask you this as a follow-up question to that: I would assume that you, when you go out on your auditions, get the typical Asian role, and you just kind of get thrown into that lot. Because is Hollywood still a bit closed-minded with that? Like Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Filipino, you're all the same, just go audition? Or is there a separation between the different cultures?
At least recently I'm seeing a push for things to be more authentic, which I actually really appreciate. Granted, it lessens auditions for me because that means there are some, Chinese, Japanese type parts that I can't read for because they're pushing for more authenticity. But I actually really like that, because when those Filipino parts come about, then Filipino actors will actually be seen for that. And but yeah, no, as of right now, I feel like it's half and half. There are some productions that are like, no, we want authentic, of this specific type of Asian actors to audition, and there are some that no, bring in any Asians, they'll do the accent and
sure.
Yeah.
And have you had to learn the different accents, and how much work has gone into that?
Oh yeah, no, I've had auditions where I've had to play a Vietnamese accent, an Indonesian accent, a Chinese accent, and and some people may take offense with that, thinking that we're just being grouped together as one. But then again, say a Caucasian actor is being considered for a British part, then they'd have to learn a British accent. So I just look at it in that perspective that if it fits my type and if I can pull off the accent, then yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
Do you like doing the accents, and are they easy for you to I don't want to say master, because it's pretty difficult to master another accent, all of the nuances, but some people can do it. Are you good at that?
It's something I've a lot of fun with. Whenever I have to learn an accent, what I do is I look up YouTube videos of authentic people. Of say I was learning an Indonesian accent, I'd look up videos of Indonesian people speaking in English, and then I would learn the accent from there. But also beyond that, I look up videos where they actually teach you like say basic Indonesian, and yeah, and I'd go about learning some basic phrases here and there just to get a feel for the language in my mouth and all that stuff, and yeah, getting a tone or rhythm for it. It's also an added plus that in a lot of these videos, it's actually authentic Indonesian people speaking in English, so you also get them speaking that accent. So
Sure.
yeah, those are specific things that I do when I'm.
I mean, for
learning
me,
other
I've had to
accents.
learn some accents, but they were mostly when I was doing theater work. When it comes
Right.
to TV and film, you know, and this is something to be said about the material that we're getting handed to audition for as actors. You know, I as a Caucasian guy with blonde hair, blue eyes, I get handed very typical, frat guy or
Right.
boy next door, which is fine. I mean, I'm happy to do it, especially if it's well written. But there aren't a lot of places for me to stretch. So in that way, it kind of makes your work more interesting.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, being an Asian actor, yeah, I do like that it opens up it up to a lot of Asian roles, and yeah, no, I enjoy it when it does occur. Yeah.
Do you have any comedic or rather horror stories of auditioning with these accents? Did it ever go wrong, or were you ever in a situation where you were playing another culture and it just felt awkward or weird or anything?
No. Fortunately, that hasn't happened yet. But
Good.
Yeah, no. I wish I had a funny story to tell, but yeah, nope. I mean, going in there, I don't know if they're gonna have like, say, an expert in the room of anything authentic, Indonesian or Vietnamese or Chinese that they can sit there and judge me and see if my accent is good or anything like that.
Right.
So, yeah, no, nothing yet.
So, you were saying you don't get typically a lot of film auditions, but this year, according to Zedrick Restauro's IMDb page, there's a short film that you wrote and acted in, and then you've got a feature film that you acted in. You want to talk about those a little bit? Yeah,
sure. So the short film that I wrote and produced with my friend Megan.
What's it called?
It's called The Wisdom Tree, and it's about these 4 friends who find this letter from a deceased person, telling them to go to these addresses because these addresses are significant places throughout his lifetime. And actually, one of these 4 friends is leaving for the military, so it becomes this very poignant story about of going away and leaving, and it's yeah, just like going from one chapter of your life to the next and stuff like that. So and that's actually premiering tomorrow. I guess as of this recording, it's October 9th, so it's premiering tomorrow for this film festival. So I'm very excited about that. And then earlier this year, I booked this movie called Hickey, which is a coming-of-age story. And the director is aiming to send it to Sundance.
What's his name?
Sorry. The director, writer-producer is Alex Grossman. Yeah, he's aiming for Sundance. And if that doesn't go through, then it's something that's going to be run through the festival circuit. And yeah, hopefully that sees the light of day next year, early next year.
Are they in the final moments of post-production?
Yeah, no, it's finished.
Completely finished.
It's completely finished.
Oh wow! So they're just submitting it now.
Yeah, because the deadline for Sundance was late September, so it had to be done before then. And yeah, it's submitted to Sundance, and yeah, hopefully we hear from it, which should happen early December.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Wisdom Tree real quick. You wrote that. You co-wrote it, right? You wrote it with a friend. Talk a bit. Where did this? Was this the first thing you've written? As far as something that got produced for you?
Yeah. I'd say this is the short film that I had written. And I do have to say Megan did more of the, I guess, actually writing it on the software. Is it Celtex?
Celtex, yeah.
Celtex, yeah. She was the one that did most of the writing on it. But when we had talked about it, it was really a marriage of our ideas, because this film festival that we submitted it to, a film that I did a couple years ago got accepted to the same festival. So it was...
what festival is that?
It's called On Location, the Los Angeles Video Project. It's by this organization called New Filmmakers LA. They actually do film festivals every month, but this is the big one that they do every year. And so a work that I did got accepted to that a couple years ago, and it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, I've just been throwing around ideas in my head as to if I do go back into there again, what kind of story would I like to tell? And one day, her and I were just hanging out, yeah, just at a cafe drinking tea, and I just brought up the fact that
it's very typical LA.
It is, yeah. That yeah, I had done that festival, and I was like, I was interested in entering it again, and I told her about this idea of mine of just like these 4 friends that take out another friend of theirs that is gonna be leaving for the military, and just to take her out on like a one last day of just exploring LA, going to the favorite places that she's loved, the places that are significant to them, because I just wanted to do a story that was poignant and meaningful to a certain group of people.
Right.
And then Megan really liked that idea, and then she had this idea about, say, a narrative where someone finds a letter in a new car that someone had just purchased, well, a used car. That letter would have belonged to the previous owner of that car, and how that would affect the new owners, and what kind of story is in that letter. So it became a marriage of those 2 ideas, and then yeah, it was just like an aha moment that we both had, that we were like, we can combine these stories and make something really meaningful out of it.
So from that alchemy, sitting in your typical LA cafe drinking tea, how long did the writing process take from the time that the alchemy happened to the time she hands you a script and says, let's film this thing?
How long did that take? I would take maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, that's not bad.
Granted, that's not like 2 or 3 weeks straight of writing a 5-minute short film, because
sure,
we both have very busy lives, me and Megan. But yeah, from there we just decided, yeah, let's make this happen. We have the means to. Her brother is an editor, and that brother has a good friend who is a cinematographer. So we were like, we have the means to do this. Let's actually do this. And the fact that we had a deadline, because the deadline submissions for that particular film festival was, I think, August. Then yeah, we just really set out to do it.
So this being your first film that you were a writer on, that you produced and acted in, was that interesting for you for the first time being the writer to be acting in it? And also, was it interesting for you to act out your own story?
Yeah, it was a weird experience, but it was also a lot of fun, and it
Is there a freedom in that, do you think, more so than if you were acting in somebody else's film that they wrote, or is there more? Do you feel nervous about that?
Right. I guess there is a sense of achievement, the fact that that I wrote this, and now it's actually happening and stuff like that, and hearing the words come out of say another character's mouth, and me thinking, oh, I wrote this, so it's a bit of an ego boost. But yeah, no, aside from that, I feel like I enjoyed it, say, as much as I would enjoy someone else's writing. I mean, as long as at least for me as an actor, as long as like the writing is good and I feel like I'm feeling connected to it, then yeah, then the acting feels good. But yeah, it was a really good experience. I liked it a lot.
Now, I haven't seen the film yet, but I've obviously heard you talking about it, and we've talked about it a lot, and I've seen stills from it. There's a great sense of friendship in the movie, of this group of friends, that it's a very tight-knit group, yeah?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, is that something that comes from your own real life? Is that something that is that one of the qualities in yourself that you hold very dear? Is your life with your friendships?
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, because even coming up with the idea for this, I wanted to write something that was meaningful to a group of friends. Like it was, my friendships is something I definitely prioritize in my life, and the people that I did this film with are my friends that I've been friends with for years. Because Megan, I went to college with her, then there was Amber and Manuel. Amber I had gone to college with, and then Manuel was someone Megan felt passionate about. So I guess he was the one that we had just met on that set. But for the most part, and Megan's brother, I've known him for a while. So for the most part, a lot of the people in this production are people that I've known for a while. So yeah, putting in the whole friendship aspect and playing that on the actual shooting of the film was a pretty effortless thing, because I was working with people that I'm actually friends with.
So being an actor in LA, I'm sure most of your friends are actors, right?
Yeah.
Do you like having most of your friends be in the same world that you play in, or do you think that? Do you find actors that are people rather, your friends that are not actors, are they more interesting for you? Do you feel more of a need to keep those people closer? What is your take on balance, being an actor and then still trying to live a normal person's life and not letting your art and your career and your job essentially overtake your entire life?
Yeah, like as far as my friends go, yeah, I would say half are actors, half are non-actors. And you mentioned balance, and I like that. I like that I've struck that balance with the people that I'm friends with, because the people that I'm friends with that are not actors are usually a different type of artists. I find myself being drawn to musicians. I don't know why, because I've nothing. I have no knowledge, education, or like anything.
You get down on the karaoke though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Karaoke, but that's not legitimate music. But yeah, no. I'm drawn to people that are musicians for some reason. Just for the most part, I'm drawn to really, really artistic people. And as far as like the actors that I'm friends with, you obviously being one of them. The actors that I'm friends with are the people that I really admire for, their ambition, their work ethic, and because I feel like it pushes me to be a better actor, and I like to think that I influence my friends in that same way. I think it's very important for an actor to have actor friends, but also to have non-actor friends, because sometimes we just gotta turn this off and like go karaoke or something, because it's sometimes we have to make it a point to like actually live full lives, so we're not 24 hours a day obsessing about our acting career, because it can drive us nuts.
Okay, so I want to talk to you a bit about your career and just kind of go through the IMDb career that you have. Now, it's leaving out, I'm sure, a ton of things. Yeah. I know that there was an AFI film that you did called Full Circle that I saw that showcased you dramatically very well, which I think parts of that can be seen in your demo reel online.
Yeah.
So that was good, and I know that we've done things where we shoot, but we don't put them out, or they just go on demo reels, or
right.
Whatever it may be. But we're just going to go through the main credits here. Sure, so your first credit comes in 2011, which is when you made that big move to LA. Yeah. Did you book the role before moving to LA, or was that after?
I booked this role before moving to LA. This was the film that convinced me I needed to be out here.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was a low budget film, 200 miles per hour, directed by Cole S. McKay, and it's an Asylum film, which has a big cult following. It was on Netflix forever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where it's at right now. It's probably somewhere still able to be
I'm
seen.
Sure it's still like out on video on demand, because it's released on DVD, Blu-ray, so it's out there. If you want to see it, it can be seen and stuff like that.
Your next credit in the same year is Super Shark. Is that an Asylum film as well?
It is not. There were some people that worked on 200 miles per hour that also worked on this production, and that was actually how I got this part. I was offered a small role in this film from the second AD of 200 miles per hour, Rennie Carter. yeah, suggested that I be in Super Shark, and yeah, they brought me in. So that was really cool. I was offered a part for this one.
So these were very much cult genre films.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
were you union at this time?
Not yet. No.
So those are both working.
They
non-union.
were both non-union. Yeah.
Still good things to get the career going.
Yeah, very much so. Like, because these are 200 Miles Per Hour was my first film that was ever distributed, and for me that was a huge deal. Like, say what you will about Asylum films, but I'm still so proud of 200 Miles Per Hour because it was my first experience on a legitimate film set, and yeah, first work of mine that was actually released internationally, DVD, Blu-ray, video on demand, and freaking Netflix. That was huge for me. And then Super Shark eventually aired. It was shot in 2011, but it wasn't until 2012 that it aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. So again, that was huge, also huge.
I mean, I remember when I moved here, I mean, we were still babies at that time. But I mean, I remember, showing people like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with the dude from 200 Miles Per Hour, like we look at that and we laugh now. Yeah. But I mean, do you remember that feeling back then of how awesome and crazy and scary and confusing and magical all of that was back then? I mean,
oops, sorry.
Come on. Back then, how we met.
Yeah.
We were both working at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood, and you had already completed filming 200 Miles Per Hour.
Yeah, and Super Shark too, actually. Yeah.
You had done both of those.
Yeah, it just hadn't been released yet. Yeah.
Oh wow! And during that first that we worked, that's when you booked the Hewlett Packard commercial.
Yeah,
which isn't on your IMDb. I think it might be in other works on your IMDb.
Right.
But or you can check Zedrick's career out on Wikipedia. He's on Wikipedia. He's very famous. Then we go to 2012, Bikini Spring Break. Is that Asylum?
Yeah. It was also an Asylum production, and
you were like the genre film Asylum style king for a while. That was like your thing.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah. No.
Do you still have ties to these filmmakers? Are they still?
No, I haven't spoken with them in a while. I'm Facebook friends with them.
You're a big TV actor now. You got to be throwing your weight around a bit.
But yeah, no. Casting brought me back in for Bikini Spring Break, and
where you played Chinese guy.
Yep. And like Super Shark, didn't audition for this. They just gave me the part.
Wow.
So I was very happy about that, and I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but
Super Shark?
Oh no, Bikini Spring Break.
Oh, right.
But again, it's out there. It's on video on demand, all that stuff, and it was fun.
Right. So you book these three, and we talked a bit earlier about you playing other Asian type characters and being booked as Chinese guy in Bikini Spring Break.
And I've had to learn a Cantonese accent for that.
So there's an example of that. Yeah. And then we did a experimental webisode called Vigilante together, where I directed you, and you played the evil surgeon. You were knife-based, and you tried to kill me. That can still be found on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure. Maybe not one of our highlights, but it was fun. I mean, we were still...
Yeah, we had fun with it.
That was our first thing that we ever made together, really. And then we did some, we were just throwing you in demo reels and stuff when I was directing demo reels for actors and things like that.
Yeah.
Then we fast forward to... You had a bit of a streak here from 2012. You did a couple things, 2013, Off the Radar. What were you doing at that time?
2013 was spent... I did... what did I do 2013? I did Full Circle. That was a film with the American Film Institute.
Right.
And that was the first time I had done something significantly dramatic in front of the camera. And...
Now tell people what that movie's about.
Sure. It's about this kid who witnesses, this teenager who witnesses an assault against his mother. Is forced to watch it, actually. It was very heavy stuff.
They break in and...
They break in, enter, and assaulted my mother. And I was held down to
R-word?
watch.
The R-word?
Yep, R-word.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the rest of the film is just this kid learning how to fight.
MMA style, mixed martial arts.
Yeah, MMA style, and obviously,
if we're gonna, are we being stereotypical here and saying that the Asian kid knows how to do Martial arts?
No, not at all. Because especially if you watch this film, yeah, I'm the Asian kid in this like group of people learning how to do MMA. But if you haven't seen me or met me, I'm a very skinny guy. So you get this like very skinny kid trying to learn MMA, and I'm surrounded by like huge dudes, like huge, massive dudes.
Right.
All great actors, by the way. I loved working with those guys, and yeah, and there's this like scrawny kid trying to learn MMA and being really, really bad at it. So
did you go through a lot of training to prep for the movie? I mean, in the movie, you were supposed to look like a novice at this.
Yeah, exactly. So that helped. The fact
Thanks,
that,
writers.
Yeah, the fact that the character, is still new to this whole thing, but I at least needed to look like I knew how to throw a punch or do some. I need to look like I at least knew the basics.
Basics, sure.
So yeah, we did 2 sessions of training, majority of which was spent on this choreographed fight that unfortunately never made it to like the final cut of the film.
Of course.
Because of time constraints and all of that stuff.
Sure.
But it was a very challenging but very rewarding experience, and it was fun.
Now, I'm gonna rewind for just a little bit in
Sure.
your career here. We both did background work when we first moved to LA.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it did you do, and do you regret doing it, or was it worth it?
I did a lot of it. No, I don't regret it because I've met so many good people from working background, like other extras that are just awesome that I'm still friends with to this day. So no, I don't regret it at all, and I felt like I did it to a certain extent that it was it didn't become unhealthy. And what I mean by that is you meet a lot of extras pursuing acting that get stuck doing it. And I never quite reached that point. I knew when it was time to stop doing that. So but I did it for like a couple of years. Like I was doing it in 2013 and 2012. Yeah.
Pretty much up until you started working steadily as an actor.
Yeah, I'd stopped in 2013 because I just made a point to stop doing it, because I was like, I can't keep doing this because it was getting in the way of auditions. You'd think they would be understanding of that, given the majority of extras are people pursuing acting, but they will not let you go on auditions, and all of that stuff.
It's just a business, yeah.
So
being an extra is not the same thing. I'm with you. I think that there is a certain amount that you can learn. I mean, for me, I did a lot of behind the scenes work, so that's where I really learned how sets work.
Yeah.
But you learn how sets work and how they treat. You learn all the lingo, like calling in first team, and you learn. Oh, that means the real actors are coming in, and the stand-ins. Not that those people aren't real actors, because we've both done you've done stand-in work?
Never done
stand-in. Okay. Well, I've done the stand-in work, and doesn't mean that I'm any less of an actor. So I'm with you. I think that anyone who wants to come here, one, if you don't have any money in your pocket, it's a great way to put some money in your pocket.
Definitely.
It's a good way to learn, and like you said, it's a good way to meet people. But like you, we both cut it off at a certain point. I think we both cut it off at the same point, which I don't know, is this coincidence or not, that when we cut that off, we started working pretty steadily.
Right.
On, and especially once we became union. When we were non-union, we used to work on sets all the time as a non-union. But then once we became union, it was like we were so focused on moving forward as union actors, getting paid to say words. Okay, so we talked a bit about that. It's very interesting that we've talked about, yes, you should do casting director workshops. Yes, you should train. Yes, you should work as a background artist for a bit of time. But anything, just like in real life, you do anything too much, you have to do everything in moderation.
In moderation,
you do something too much, it can become bad for you and bad for your career. You don't want anybody thinking that you're not a real actor, that you're just you're just an extra. You'll never, But I remember getting told that as a kid. You're gonna go out to LA and all you're gonna be is background extra and background artist. People said that a lot, but and it was good that I did it. I mean, people still freeze frame when they see me on doing background work from back in the day, and they'll send me pictures via text and say, "Is this you?" Yes, you know it's me. Yeah. Of course it's me. But whatever. Okay, so we've talked a lot about your career, how it got started, moving around. You had different agents. You found your home at Linda McAllister Talent. You've had different agents, different managers. You're at KMR commercially right now. So you get that in line. You become union. You stop doing the extra work. You've got everything going right with you on your resume as far as your training goes, studying at UCB, Groundlings, BGB, and Warner Laughlin, and all these different teachers that you studied with. Now things really start clicking for you. Your confidence is at an all-time high, and 2014 rolls around, and you book what is your turning point in your career, the guest star spot on Melissa and Joey, playing Preston. You're playing a high school nerd who's essentially a genius, great at math, and the one of the main characters of the show. Is it Ryder that you were acting with?
The character name is Ryder, played by Nick Robinson, incredibly talented actor. Since gone on to do Jurassic World.
So his character in the show is trying to get your character to help him cheat on a test? Is that classic story?
Let's see, because we're in our senior year. Yes, I'm 27 years old, still playing high school.
That's a good thing. Don't let anybody tell you different.
It's awesome. I love it. So we have this DC trip going to Washington, D.C. DC trip going to Washington, D.C. And now his aunt, played by Melissa Joan Hart, will not let him go if he doesn't ace his next test. So that's when he comes to me for help, and I play Preston, uber math genius, and all of that stuff. Now, when he comes to
picking the Asian kid to help you cheat on a test. Come on, writers. We can do better than that. I mean, it got you work, so keep writing it. Go for it.
Not complaining at all.
Go for it, writers. Keep it up. Write another one. Bring Preston. Is that show done now?
It's done now.
But they were syndicated, so that's a good thing. You'll be getting your residuals.
Well, like $2 residuals every now and again.
Hey, that's a McRib and a Coke.
So Ryder asks Preston for help, but Preston agrees, but only under one condition: if Ryder gets this girl Lila to like me, who's played by Denise Tance, great actress, musician. Look her up; she's fantastic, and and hilarity ensues. Lila ends up falling for Ryder instead of me.
Aww.
And it
doesn't. The audience do that since it's a live audience show. Aww. They feel bad for you.
Trying to think of if they did that. No.
They just laughed at you. Laughed at your pain.
They were rooting for Ryder. I think there was
gets thrown.
There was a gasp when Ryder and Lila
took your girl.
Kiss, and then and I get angry and I storm off, and that's the last we ever see of Mr. Preston.
So Preston is so heartbroken he drops out of school and is never seen in the series ever again. Shortly after Melissa and Joey, we come to Modern Family, another show that's going to be syndicated, or is already syndicated. And you played a waiter. This was a co-star role. Now, real quick, for people who don't know, because I had a bit of trouble when I said I booked a co-star role on Extant, people freaked out because they thought it was going to be just me and Halle Berry. No. There's a difference. Co-star is basically 5 lines or less. A guest star is over 5 lines. I always explain it this way. If you're watching Law & Order, you've got the series regulars. That's Ice-T and, the other characters, Jerry Orbach or whatever it is, right? But the criminal that comes on for that one and off that has a bunch of the lines that the episode's about, essentially, that's your guest star. So when you were Preston, that was a guest star because the episode was essentially about your character interacting with the series regulars.
Right.
That's the best way I can explain it. So when people say I'm a co-star, it's still a huge fucking accomplishment.
It is, yeah.
They should be applauded for it because it's very hard to even get those to play those 5 lines. But a guest star even more so.
Yeah,
I mean, it goes co-star. That's kind of the bottom barrel, but it's still an accomplishment. Guest star. Then you've got, would you say, recurring,
then
series regular, and star of the show, Halle Berry or Melissa Joan Hart or Joey Lawrence.
Yeah.
So, So anyway, like we said, you book the co-star role, playing the waiter on Modern Family, which everyone loves that show. Great show. And then that was 2014. 2015, early 2015, you did the Thundermans for Nickelodeon, playing the ticket taker. You were an usher at a theater, movie theater.
So that was another co-star role.
Another co-star role. And we talked earlier in the interview about Wisdom Tree, your short film that you produced, wrote, and starred in. You're one of the stars. That's going to go to the New Filmmakers Festival.
Yeah.
On location?
On location, the LA Video Project, yeah.
And then Hickey is in post-production. And I'm sure there's going to be much more from you.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for.
It seems like, talking about it, the trajectory is definitely rising steadily, especially from that Melissa and Joey turning point. And there's no secret to it. It's just, like you said, be consistent. Go get training.
Yeah.
Do the casting director workshops. You'll get your confidence up, keep that confidence up, and you'll book.
Yeah.
All right, so now what I want to do is go backwards. Let's go all the way back.
Sure.
You were born and raised in the Philippines. What part?
I was born and raised in a town called Biñan, which is an hour south of Manila, the capital. It was strange because the Philippines is very overpopulated. There's people just everywhere. But my neighborhood felt like a small town, and that says a lot just about that culture in general because we're very what's the word? I guess collectivistic. We're very involved in the family and the community and with our friendships and all that stuff. Like there's a huge focus on being with people, I guess, versus the whole how the American culture is very individualistic. It's all about, making a name for yourself, going out on your own, doing all that stuff. Our culture is definitely more, stay with your family. Being in a community as a whole, keep your friends close, all of that stuff. So it was, it's I had a lot of fun growing up in the Philippines. It's a great place.
And did you move to California first?
I did. Yeah, when I was 15, I moved to Los Angeles. And then a couple of years later, I actually moved to Vancouver, Canada. And then 2 years after that, I moved back to Southern California, but I lived in Orange County.
Which is roughly, 40 minutes away from Los Angeles and Hollywood?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you were commuting between OC up here for auditions and things?
I did, yeah. When I finally made the decision to primarily be an actor, that's what I did for a while. Commuting a lot for, auditions up here in LA and all that stuff. And also after 2 years in Orange County, I moved to Corona, which is in Riverside County. Again, also an hour. That one was an hour away, so slightly farther.
That's north instead of south, yeah.
That would be as far as LA. It's east of LA.
East of LA.
Yeah. So I was doing that for a while, and until I reached a point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to live in LA.
Was it the commute that was bothering you, or?
The commute was definitely a huge thing. But another bigger part of it too was I needed to be around people that were doing the same things that I was.
To keep you motivated, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Granted, in Orange County, there's such a good theater community over there.
Right.
So I was spending a lot of time with a lot of actors and a lot of all of that stuff, but.
Living in OC, how close were you to becoming a Disney kid working at the Disneyland?
Oh, God, no. Living in Orange County, I've met a lot of people that work in Disneyland, and I've heard some horror stories. I mean, I've also heard some really good stories about working at Disneyland, but yeah, no, I was never attracted to that. But yeah, no, going back to like being surrounded by people that are doing the same things you are, because yeah, I was surrounded by a lot of people that are acting, but you know, in community theater or equity theater as well. But even though I had theater roots, my primary goal was to become a TV and film actor. So I knew I had to I had to move and be surrounded by people that were doing the same things I was. And
going on what you said about the Filipino tradition of staying close to your family, I'm sure that didn't make the family extremely happy.
Yeah, no, they were not unhappy about it. They weren't happy either. But it was just like they respected the fact that I was doing this and that I was gonna go out there, and they could tell, my family could tell how important it was to me. So yeah, no, it wasn't a hard decision. It wasn't something I had to convince them over. They agreed to the whole thing. And
so tell me about your family. What are we looking at here?
Sure. Mom, dad, and 4 sisters.
What do mom and dad do?
Mom and dad are accountants.
So two accountants, the son becomes an actor.
Yeah.
Was there any struggle or friction there whatsoever, or are they just completely fine with you?
No.
I mean, they shipped themselves pretty far from the Philippines to come here and work hard. And
yeah. And and I am really lucky as far as that, especially compared to other, I guess, Asian families. Asians do typically tend to become very, strict about what their children are pursuing and all of that stuff, which is also true of the Filipino community. But yeah, no, my parents they were very supportive of this whole thing. There was no backlash at all. They just understood that this was what I was good at and this is what I wanted to do, and they respected that. And the whole point of bringing us here to America was really to open up all the possibilities and opportunities for their children. And, you know, so if one of their kids decides to pursue art, then
that's why
that's kind of the point of why they brought us here. So we have that freedom to do that, whereas we don't back there in the Philippines.
Now, back in the Philippines, let's say mom and dad wouldn't have picked the whole family up when you were 15 to move across the world to America.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have still been an artist there? And if so, is there an industry there? If you wouldn't have come here, would you still have found some sort of industry to be a part of?
No, I would not be an actor there. I would not have. I think I'd maybe like take classes in college or maybe like do some theater over there, but ultimately, no, that would not have worked out for me.
Where do you? Okay, so you're how old are you right now?
I am 27 now.
27. What would 27-year-old Zedrick Restauro be doing if he was still living in the Philippines right now?
I don't know. Something nerdy with computers and computer science. Yeah. No, I would be living a much different life.
Okay, so let's say you're IT for computers. You're probably not speaking English, right? You're probably still speaking your native tongue, which is...
Yeah, I mean, we also speak English over there.
So. Oh, so what would you say the percentage is? Because it's Tagalog that you speak, right? Mm. So when did you learn English? Was that something you learned from...
Yeah, we learn English and Tagalog simultaneously. No, we don't use Tagalog in everyday speech, but it's used everywhere else, in school, at work, and all that stuff. So... Yeah, we know English. Every Filipino knows English. It's just how we know it is, since it's not something we use in everyday speech, how we know it is very formal. So pretty much imagine English without slang.
Which is very funny because knowing you so personally, I know how much slang is actually in your vocabulary.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot since I moved here.
You learn quick.
Yeah. So, we do speak English over there, but, over there, it's just not a legitimate career option for me. And there is an industry there. But Filipinos are huge on soap operas. Our soap operas happen prime time, not in the daytime. Actually,
That's the big money.
That's a big thing. It's like being a soap actor. And the standards for soap opera actors are true there as it is for here, which are extremely good-looking people. I'm a very good-looking person, but not but not in a soap opera sense.
You don't look like Fabio.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I just will.
You definitely are of the. You go out for the hipster look quite a bit.
Yeah.
In your auditions, I don't know that there's a hipster soap opera star.
God no. Yeah. So that. No. I really don't think I would have gravitated towards it. Right. Had I stayed in the Philippines.
So let's say here you get offered a big money deal. They say, we need Zedrick Restauro to come in and play this role for 5 years on what's Young and the Restless. Do you take it or do you not take it? Those casting directors are listening right now.
Right. I think I will.
Greg Salmon, put it together. Put the paperwork together. Zedrick is ready.
I mean, I don't think it's possible. I don't have the look for it. But
hey,
if
they could change, man.
If they open up the doors to more, to more average looking people, but still sort of good looking. Oh my kidding, very good looking. But say open it up to non-soap opera types. Oh yeah.
You go for it. Okay,
I think I'd do it. Yeah.
So you move from the Philippines. You're in Orange County. Then you go to Corona. Then you move to the closer Los Angeles Hollywood area, North Hollywood area. You make that move, and you had studied a bit in college. How many years of college did you go through?
Oof. Oh God. Okay. So because I went to college in Canada, I went there for like a year, but
we didn't mention that Canada. Did we mention that?
I just mentioned that I lived there for a couple of years.
Oh, you did?
But I didn't really go into it.
And what part of Canada was that?
I was in Vancouver.
Vancouver, right.
And I went to college in Vancouver for a year, and initially pursuing psychology. I had no idea I wanted to be. Well, I had some idea I wanted to be an actor, but
studying psychology and studying acting is not that different.
Yeah, exactly. They were very close. And as I was studying psychology, I realized how bored I was of it because it was too science
scientific.
Yeah, it was just too scientific, and I was like, no. And then and during that time, I was already gravitating towards
clinical. It was just very clinical, the psychology.
Yeah,
it was like reading instructions on how to put together a nuclear bomb.
Exactly. Like because I was aware that I've always been interested with like humanity, the human condition, and I was just something I've always been curious about, and I thought, psychology, that'll cure that itch. But it did not work out. So I shifted my focus to literature, because I love literature. Like I was a literature nerd in high school, and all of that stuff.
Favorite book? What's your favorite book? Favorite novel?
Favorite novel of all time? House of Leaves. It's super weird, but it's so good.
What's that about?
It's it's hard to tell. It's 3 simultaneous stories happening at once. What is the plot?
It's complicated. It's like that Wachowski siblings movie that came out, The Cloud Atlas, where it's just a whole bunch of stuff happening, shit's going down.
Right. But but one premise of the multiple stories I guess I can pinpoint to is a family finds that their house is growing on the inside but not on the outside. And at first it's just like little signs here and there. It seems like the bookshelf is moved, but actually like extra inches has been seemingly added to the wall and all that stuff. And so this keeps happening steadily, gradually, until one day a hallway shows up in one of the walls leading to God knows where. And so that's one of the storylines within this book. And the dad of the family makes a documentary out of it. the documentary is found by another person. There's a whole another storyline with that person.
And then it became Paranormal Activity 3.
Sort of, but not really. Yeah, because it's not so much about ghosts, but it's it's a very interesting novel, how it's written.
You think that'll become a movie?
All that stuff. There have been talks. The novel came out in 2000, and the story is just so... There's so much to it. I don't think a movie will do it justice.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't know. It would be interesting if they did, but it's a mind. Can I curse?
Yeah.
It's a mind fuck that
Can you curse? Of course you can curse. It's your show.
That story, yeah.
So that's your favorite. I'm gonna ask you for a couple more book titles. What is
Sure.
your favorite nonfiction book? Do you have one? Are you a nonfiction reader?
I don't read nonfiction.
See, I only read nonfiction. I can't. I've read a few novels, and one of the novels I won't even say to anyone because I don't want anybody to go buy the rights to it and make the movie before I can make it. So I'm not going to say that. But I love nonfiction. Do you? And you know me. You know I read.
Yeah.
We're in my office right now, and there's a bookshelf behind Zedrick, packed with books, plays. But most of it's nonfiction. I love to read autobiographies. Which is probably why I'm making this. I'm so obsessed with learning about people's their lives and how they came about being who they are, which is why we're doing this. And I've seen every episode of Inside the Actors Studio. I love Charlie Rose. I love even those little crappy junket interviews that you see. I watch everything. So do you have a favorite acting book? Is there a favorite autobiography? Anything like that you like?
No.
Absolutely not. Shut down. No, House of Leaves it is.
Let's see. Autobiography, I've not read any. I haven't read much. But I've read a memoirs of sorts, and it's by Stephen King. It's half memoirs and half instructions and advice on how to be a good writer.
Interesting. What's that book called?
It's called Stephen King on Writing.
Oh, I've never even heard of that. That'd be cool.
No, it's a beautifully written book because he talks about his life and also just events in his life that are relevant to what it is to be a writer.
Sure.
And he is a novel writer, but I feel like any writer of any kind of medium will appreciate the advice that he has to give. So I like that a lot, and that's a nonfiction book. The other one that the other nonfiction book that I would recommend to anyone is called The Four Agreements. And it's a what does the book call itself? It's a guide to personal freedom, and it's one of my favorite.
Is it more
books.
Of a self-help book?
It's definitely a self-help book.
Inspirational. What do they call it? Inspirational.
Yeah.
Motivational book.
Yeah, because it definitely helps you get out of your own head and out of I guess all of the stuff that that most people are perpetually worried about. It's like it says, it's a guide to personal freedom, and I would recommend that book to anyone. I don't know the name of the guy that wrote it.
We'll look it up.
You can look it up. The Four Agreements, only because his name is hard to pronounce, so I can never remember it. But
So you read the literature. You like the literature. Do you like reading screenplays? Do you like reading plays? Is that something that's fun for you as an actor? Is that something, or are you more along the lines of I just like to play it, I just like to study the character?
Yeah, no. I don't, and I know this is weird for an actor to say, I don't like reading screenplays. I guess because before I'm an actor, I love to read, and I love to read novels, and I love to read books and fiction, short fiction, novel type fiction. So screenplays bore me. There are some stage plays. I'm more. Yeah. I like reading stage plays. Yeah, but say if you were gonna see me relaxing with a book, it will be with a novel and not a screenplay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the Four Agreements. It's called The Four Agreements. A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom, written by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
That is his
actually
name.
not very hard to remember. Okay.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Don
We
Miguel
found it.
Ruiz. Okay.
Okay, so I want to dive in a little bit. We talked a bit about your history. You know, you did the plays in high school. You went to some classes, and you studied for a couple years in college.
Yeah.
Broke away from college.
Mm-hmm.
Did a bit of moving around. Ended up in Hollywood. Now, it took you a bit of time. How long have you lived in the LA area?
In Los Angeles.
Yes.
Like moving out on my own, living in Los Angeles. Well, with roommates, but I mean moving out on my own, being not with my family anymore. I did that in 2011. So.
Do you remember the date?
4 years now. September. I don't know. It was in September.
September.
Yeah.
See, I remember the day that I got.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to somebody, and they thought it was very weird that I remembered June 12th at noon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because it's so easy. Noon is 12 p.m., right?
Right,
so
right.
it was easier for me to put the two 12s together.
Yeah.
June 12th at noon, and I remember the clock on my piece of shit Monte Carlo flicked over 12:00. I saw the 101 sign on the freeway.
Right.
And I'm not even kidding you, within a couple minutes of being in LA, California Love by Dr. Dre and Tupac started playing. Like,
nice.
It was the anthem, and it was like, oh, this is where I'm at. Okay, I totally get it. And I remember it, and I was, I remember that first day very vividly. But yeah, people think that's kind of weird to remember that. But you remember it's September. So, okay, so September 2011, that would make you, that's 4 years ago, that would make you about 23. So you're 23 when you moved there. So let's just figure this out for anybody who's not living in the California area.
Sure.
How you moved to Canada for a couple years. That was after you already lived in California.
Yeah.
So that first bout, let's call it a bout in California, you didn't really do much acting, right?
Not at all.
Not at all. So then you go to Canada, you did a little bit of acting there.
Yeah.
But mostly theater and classes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you come back to LA the second time, living in Corona. How old were you at that point?
Let's see. So, moving back to California, I was 19.
19.
When I moved back to California. That was when I lived in, living in Orange County and all that stuff. Yeah, going to college, for theater and doing theater. Going out here for auditions every now and again.
Take me back to your first time getting... Now, did you when you had your first real Los Angeles audition, whether it be for a short film or whatever it was, but it took place in Los Angeles, did you have representation first, or did you...
No, not at all.
How did you get the audition? And what was it for, if you remember? Yeah,
sure. How I got the audition was from Backstage.com. At that point, I had taken some acting classes, and they had advised that, if you want to go out for, auditions for, like, say, short films or student films, which if you're a new actor, it's really what you go for. So hopefully, you can get some footage for your reel, et cetera, et cetera. So, I got it from Backstage.com. Someone had recommended that I look there for auditions, created an account, started submitting myself out for things. And, my first audition was for a student film directed by Misha Marcus, who I'm still friends with. Actually, I haven't seen her for a while. I need to hit her up.
I assume you booked it.
Yeah.
You booked your first audition in LA.
Yeah?
That had to have felt good and felt like a good sign. Like, this is something that's right for me to be doing. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So, it was, I had to dance for that audition.
What was this short? Have I seen this?
I don't think so.
Oh, boy. I want to see this. With Miss Misha.
Misha Marcus, yeah.
I think we're Facebook friends. Have I met her in real life?
I think you've met her.
I met her like once.
Once in one of my... Yeah, I had my first birthday party at Howl at the Moon.
That's right.
She was there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we should meet up with her.
Yeah, no, she's
calling
awesome.
you out, Misha. So you book your first. Now, how old were you at that point?
I was.
Was it right away when you got back here?
If it was if I was 19 or if I was 20.
So but it was fairly soon after you moved back to California.
I was 20. Yeah.
Second time. So you're 20 years old then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really when your whole LA pursuit of this career got started. So take us through that trajectory with a bit of the highlights from getting your first agency. I want you to talk about your agents, and feel free to be brief or dig in, whatever you feel comfortable with. Sure. And we'll kind of go through it and get up to right now.
Sure.
And then we're almost out of time. So what I want to do before we get into that trajectory is tell me what it is day to day with you. What is your day-to-day life like? How much of it is art? How much of it is work, doing jobs that maybe aren't acting? Do you do that anymore? How much time is spent with friends? What is the balance that we talked about earlier?
Right. Day-to-day stuff. What do I do? Well, I've been fortunate enough to have landed a commercial earlier this year that paid a lot of money. And having done that, I'm good for like rent for the next few months. So as of right now, no, I don't have a day job. But so I would get an audition from my agency, theatrical or commercial, at least once a week. So that happens. But I also seek out auditions for myself. Recently I've auditioned for AFI.
The American Film Institute.
The American Film
Institute. For those who don't know,
it's
it's one of the top-rated film schools in the country.
Yeah.
They make pretty good films.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing for you to do in between the paying gigs.
Yeah, definitely. You just gotta seek out work for yourself aside from what your agents are doing. I try to get into casting director workshops. Let's see.
How many of those would you say that you do a month? And do you think those are worth it? Because I've been reading a lot. There's a casting director named Billy DeModa. I'm not calling him out, but I see that he posts a lot about, he's been in this fight against casting director workshops because he doesn't want actors paying what little money most of us usually have back to the pockets of the casting directors who are supposed to be helping us anyway.
Right.
He looks at it as paying to audition.
Yeah.
What is your view on casting director workshops? How many do you do a month, and how do you feel about all that?
Sure. Let's see. Casting director workshops. I like to say I do it at least once a month. Excuse me. A great place to do it is at the SAG Foundation. Granted, you only get to do one, I think, every 3 months, but every month they do release a casting director workshop that is pretty much open to anyone without the rules of that frequency. So you just got to be on it and like catch it when it happens.
So that allows you to go to these casting director workshops for free. So you're not taking the hard-earned money out. Now, it's very interesting because I was talking to some of my friends that are SAG-AFTRA, and they didn't even know about the SAG Foundation. They didn't know about SAG Conservatory. Yeah. It's something that I don't think, and even actors that do know about it, it's something that I don't think that a lot of actors are really taking advantage of.
Right.
They just hit this year is their 30-year anniversary, and it's still sort of unknown in a way.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I don't quite know why. Like, if you're an actor and you become union, you look up what the union does for you. You look up what benefits, what perks we can.
Well, we pay a pretty penny to get in there.
Get out of it. Yeah, exactly. We paid a lot of money to be in the union, to stay in the union, to keep paying our dues and all that stuff. So I don't understand why, but yeah, just going back to the whole casting director workshops thing. Yeah, I make it a point to do it at SAG because it's free. Yeah, because there's a lot of places to go to for casting director workshops, and you're going to get a lot of opinions about it from casting directors themselves and all that stuff. I've met a lot of casting directors that are very much against it, but there are also some legitimate, hardworking casting directors that are for it. But the ones that are for it, legitimate, really good, hardworking casting directors that work on big projects, they're for it for the educational purposes. So I think you have to be very selective about which ones you go to, because unfortunately there are some out there that only do it for the money. and not so much for meeting actors.
Right. So let me ask you this, though. It's supposed to be educational.
Yeah.
Have you learned... can you honestly say that you've learned something from these workshops, or is it just something that more or less now you're in contact with that casting director, they've seen you act, they've got your headshot with your agency on it, and they can see all your credits, and hopefully they remember you? Or have you genuinely learned something that you carry with you? Because let's face it, they really aren't acting teachers or coaches. Right. They are casting directors.
Yeah.
So outside of learning how to audition for them, which every casting director has their own way that they wish for actors to audition for them.
Yeah.
So outside of that, is there something to be learned from casting directors that our acting coaches can't teach us?
Yeah, because every casting person has their own perspective on it. They have their own, I guess, rules or their own like bits of advice to give. So bits and pieces here and there. And there's really not a lot that they can give, because a lot of how these are structured is do a Q&A, then the actors perform, then do another Q&A. So it's a learning experience in a way that you get to learn what each person's perspective is, and then hopefully you learn something from, the other actors, how they're critiqued, what they do, and how the casting director responds to it. So if you keep your mind open, there is stuff to be taken from it. Is it something that an actor should do consistently a lot, spending a lot of their hard-earned money for? In moderation, I would say. Because I'm meeting a lot of actors that are sacrificing going to acting class and taking these workshops instead, thinking the more casting directors they meet, the more auditions they can get. And it just doesn't work out that way. It doesn't work favorably for them.
Because it's more of buying a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Essentially, hoping that you're going to get there on a day when they need you exactly to be called in.
Right.
And that brings it up, and I'm not trying to slam casting directors here by talking about this. I'm legitimately asking from one actor to another, because for me, my personal experience, I've been to a lot of them over, 4.5 years that I've been in Los Angeles, taking advantage like you do of the free ones. And I used to be a Universal tour guide, and we got free ones then too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've paid for, I wouldn't say a lot, because some people go to these things 4, 5, 6 times a week.
Yeah.
I've never gone to more than maybe 3 or 4 in a month. And maybe those people are getting more auditions than me. Maybe they are even booking more than me. But for me, I can't see plopping down that much money, especially because, and look, I can't really slam casting directors, because we both went to the same casting director workshop with Rana Kress, and she brought us both in for auditions.
Yeah.
And I ended up booking with her. She got me my first TV job.
Yeah.
That was huge. I've also been to other ones that, like you say, they kind of have an attitude with you, and you feel like you don't even care that I'm in this room paying you my hard-earned money to meet with you and learn from you and get to know you, and you're giving me attitude. I feel like you're just doing it for my money.
Right.
What's the point? Why am I ever going to come back to you and do this?
Yeah.
But there's also been casting directors, and then there's some that are charging exorbitant amount of money to come to their workshops, and then there's other ones, that are charging reasonable $20 or something like that, and you go to them and they care for the actors. And look, I mean, these places that run these casting director workshops, they're businesses, they have to collect money too. So when these casting directors keep that sum of money to be paid down to $20, they're not making much money, and the workshop establishment itself is obviously dragging a bigger pot than the casting director, because that's how it works for the rental of the office space. But you're right. I mean, that brings me to my next thing, is to talk about training with you, because you've trained at different schools around Los Angeles, and that money that we have that we can't afford to let go of to, because acting is a business. You are the product and the owner and the manager, the CEO, the whole deal, and it takes capital to start a small business.
Mm-hmm.
It takes capital, putting money into yourself to create yourself as a business, and training is part of that. So talk a bit about your training and what you've liked about training, and where have you studied and things like that.
Yeah, sure. I've studied at a good amount of places. The Groundlings, Upright Citizens Brigade, BGB Studios, and that's where it's run by Risa Berman Garcia, casting director for Masters of Sex and a whole slew of other amazing projects. Legendary casting director of that one, and she's also an amazing teacher too. So it's run by her and Steve Braun. That's BGB Studios, and right now I'm currently training at the Groundlings again and Warner Laughlin Studios. At Warner Laughlin Studios, I'm training primarily for drama, whereas in the Groundlings, obviously, it's an improv school, so that's more comedy based.
And your work that you've booked in commercials and TV and film, for that matter, has mostly been comedic.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that something that you would like to continue pursuing and being considered a comedic actor, or would you like to be more of a dramatic actor? What is it to you as an artist? What is it that you're trying to do?
Right. Ideally, I'd like a balance of both. That I'm the type of actor that can be considered for comedic and dramatic stuff. I currently have more success in comedy. And if that's my way into the industry, then yeah, so be it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I love doing comedy. It's making people laugh, I think, is one of the best things you can do ever. And so I definitely enjoy that. We'll keep on doing that as long as I keep blending roles that way.
So with comedy, do you think you'll ever, have you ever done stand-up before?
No.
Is it something that you think you have an interest in doing, or is it mostly you like doing it through the scripted format, or do you want to one day be do you want to be a groundling? Like, what is it with comedy what is your goal with that?
No, I don't want to do stand-up. Maybe someday I'll have an interest in it, but as of right now, that scares me, and I'm good. Let's see, I really like scripted comedy. I like the challenge of a multi-camera sitcom or a single-camera sitcom. I found that I really like playing in that type of playground. And also in films, having done Hickey, it's a coming-of-age comedy. It's there's also some dramatic parts to it, definitely, but it is more of a comedy than it is a drama. And I just had a lot of fun with that. Eventually, what do I want to do with it?
It's interesting. A second ago, you said, if that's my way to break into the industry, don't you feel like you've already broken into the industry? Aren't you part of the industry?
Yeah, but I feel I can be a part of it more.
Sure, of course. Yeah. So I guess that brings up that question again. What is your overall goal? What do you want to see your career being? And it's okay to say, like the Filipino Tom Cruise if you want. I don't care. But and also, what do you consider making it, quote unquote?
Right. I guess I would consider making it for me is to become a working actor, to make money primarily from acting, which to a certain extent I've achieved, but with commercials. So my next benchmark for that would be to be able to do this, making money off of commercials and TV and film. So that, I think, for me would be making it if I'm working consistently as a TV actor or as a film actor, and plus doing commercials as well, that all of my money would be coming from that. So basically, to be a working actor. And I really have, I don't have a preference whether that will be achieved through drama or comedy, like really whichever one I can get, because I enjoy doing both very much for very different reasons, but yeah.
What do you wish someone would have told you when you started? What is that one piece of advice that if somebody would have told it to you back when you're 20 years old, getting started in your career, if somebody would have told that to you, it would have saved you time. It would have gotten you further quicker.
Good question.
Or would you rather if you had it to do over again, would you do it the exact same way that you did do it?
Yeah, I don't see myself doing it any differently. That's a good question. What keeps coming back to me is confidence. If someone had told me the value of confidence and how much that plays into everything that we do, and that I should prioritize that, yeah, I feel like that would have made a huge difference, and that would get me faster to where I am now. Because, yeah, we really underestimate how important it is. Like, heading into auditions, heading into set, like, in everything that we do, it's something that we need to achieve. And whatever the means to do that, you got to do it. And for me, it's training. It came from training. Came from just...
And to some extent, booking, right? When you...
Oh, yeah, and of course.
I mean, I feel like watching you, it was when you booked that guest star role on Melissa and Joey.
Yeah, yeah.
Your confidence was as high as I'd ever seen it, and it was just after that, if I'm not mistaken, that you booked 2 co-stars at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
One for Mindy Project and one for the Thundermans.
I booked Mindy Project the same time as Melissa and Joey, which is why I didn't.
Oh, that's what it was.
Mindy Project, because.
So what I guess what we're saying then is that you had the confidence to get both of those. So what did you do right before Melissa and Joey? What was it that changed it, that allowed you to walk into those rooms and be able to be booked for a co-star and a guest star at the exact same time?
Specifically training.
Do you remember what training you were doing at the time?
I went to the Groundlings.
It was the Groundlings.
It was the Groundlings,
Would you say that training, taking that basic, because you were in basic 1, right?
That was even before. Was that after basic? I can't remember. Let's say it is. Sure. It was after basic. No, it was just an improv workshop.
Just going there and knowing like I can do this.
Yeah, yeah.
I can go to Groundlings and I can handle this. I can handle any. Interesting. That's good. What other pieces of advice do you have for young actors? Could be specific to LA, could be anywhere. But what advice do you have for actors? That you haven't already said, I guess. If you've already said it all.
I would have said confidence, but
yeah.
And the pursuit of it, making sure you have it, whatever means it is for you, because it is different for everyone. For me, it's the Groundlings. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you, that if you go to Groundlings, suddenly, ooh, boost of confidence. Like, just know yourself, train at places that you connect with, and just don't stop doing it. Just don't stop. And whatever is holding you back, deal with it. Yeah.
And you do a lot. Yeah. You talked about staying sharp earlier. You do a lot to stay sharp. You said you are in class, and you're currently studying. Where did you say?
Warner Laughlin Studios.
With Warner Laughlin, and you met Warner on Melissa and Joey, yeah?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, because she was the acting coach for the show. And she does a lot of CBS, right? Or ABC, what was it?
She does a lot.
Just all over the place.
Yeah, no, she's constantly on set, being hired as coaches for actors and all that stuff. And I was fortunate enough in meeting her on set. But I had already known about her before that, and when I heard about the philosophy of that school, I've always been kind of drawn to it and curious about it. And then meeting her and Melissa and Joey pushed that curiosity even further. But it wasn't even until a year after Melissa and Joey that I actually went and studied with them. And it's been a very good decision so far. Because like I said before, most of the things that I've booked are mostly comedies. And Warner Laughlin Studios, they also have a comedy training side. But they have their drama training side, and that's what I knew I needed to work on, because I know I know I can do drama, but I haven't had specific training towards it. And I did so with Warner Laughlin Studios, and since then I've had my first callback on a drama, and I'm currently pinned on Teen Wolf, so it's paying off. Yeah.
What does pinned mean for those who don't know?
Oh, getting pinned is basically, it could mean so many things. It can be down to just you and 2 other actors. It could mean that you are everyone's choice, but you still have to get network approval. Yeah, but basically, if you've pinned something, yeah, casting is all about you. Producers are all for you. Yeah, it's just a matter of which, say if it's between you and a few other actors, it's just a matter of which direction they'll ultimately decide to go to. Or if you're pinned and it's just waiting in network approval, it's just waiting.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're in class, and then the other things you do to stay sharp, you write a blog.
Yeah, every now and again I do.
Every now and again on Tumblr.
Mm-hmm.
How can people find you on that? What's your screen name?
Gosh, what is my screen name? thezedman.tumblr.com.
The Zedman. And you also are on stage32.com. You do a lot of blogging on that and a lot of posting. That's a networking site for people in all areas of show business, from the boom operator to screenwriters to producers to actors. And you recently you were asked by Stage 32 to write something for actors telling your story a bit. You can check that out. All you have to do is go to the Google and type in Zedrick Restauro Stage 32. It should pop right up. You do that. You're on Vine. Check him out on Vine. He's very funny. I love his videos. And I'm in them, some of them, and that's great. What else are you doing? I mean, we know that you've got the Wisdom Tree, your short film that you wrote and produced. That's going to film festivals. Hickey's going to film festivals. You had a commercial on TV recently with David Beckham. What else is going on? What else can people look for from you?
All those, basically.
What's to come? Anything to come? Anything in the works?
A comedy thing? What?
No. What else? What do you have in the works? Anything?
Yeah, no. Aside from what we've already talked about, not much else. I'm just hoping to land the auditions that I get, all that stuff. Keep on training. If a good idea comes to me, I'll write. I do writing every now and again, but and just living life, hanging out with friends, going hiking, etc. And like we said before, like we've touched on, like it is really important to, just live your life as fully and happily as you can. Spend time with like loved ones and stuff. As cliche as all of this sounds, like we need it to keep sane. What we do is really hard, and if we don't have that, that structure that your friends or your family bring, or doing what you love brings, aside from acting, say if it's cooking or hiking or whatever, like we just got to do what we love.
And that concludes the first interview of the Hollywood Happy Hour with Zedrick Restauro. It was awesome getting to interview him. We went way over time, but I think it was worth it. I actually got to know a couple new things about my good buddy. Next time, he will be interviewing me, and you'll get to know me like you got to know Zedrick. Quick update. Since this was recorded, the Wisdom Tree, the short film Zedrick wrote and produced, actually screened and won the Audience Choice Award. How about that? Not too shabby, huh? Very proud of Zedrick. Happy to see how well he's doing. He's continuing to grow and blossom and just become a hell of an actor. He's staying humble, keeping his head on his shoulders. It's very cool to see. Make sure you're following him on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Find him on Vine. I, too, am on Vine under Stephen Bailey, under Stephen Anthony Bailey on Facebook, and under Shot of Bailey's on Instagram and Twitter. You see how clever that is? It's so genius. Let us know what you thought about this podcast. You can reach out to us. Let us know if you have any questions, suggestions. If you have anybody you want to hear on this podcast, let us know who it is. We'll do our best to get them onto the podcast as we continue to develop it and make it bigger and better and badder than ever. And so tune in next week. We'll find out more about me. Hopefully Zedrick doesn't throw me too many curveballs and I can just relax and have a good time. This week we were drinking Corona. Next week we'll probably do some rye. Why not? See you next time on the Hollywood Happy Hour.